Hello my darlings and welcome. In this video, I'm making a very simple seashell and ocean themed pendulum board and a DIY shell pendulum. Let's do some magical crafting. Thank you for joining me for this magical craft. I decided to take apart two necklaces to get some of the decorations for this project. A pearl necklace and a small shell necklace. So that's how I sourced these beads. I will leave links to all of the materials I used in this craft in the description below the video. I will also leave a link to my Etsy shop where you can purchase a shell pendulum with a beaded pearl handle, similar to the one I show you how to make in this video. There are a limited number available. I'm starting this project with a 4-inch unfinished wood round. However, you can use any size or shaped piece of wood that you'd like. I'm using a piece of sandpaper to lightly smooth the edges before painting it. The next step is to give the board a base coat of blue paint. I'm using Ocean View Folk Art acrylic paint from Plaid. However, you can use watercolor, gouache, oil, or any other paint you have. When the base coat has dried completely, it is time to measure and find the center of the board, and then draw two crossing lines. I'm doing this with a white gel pen. The areas in between will be labeled yes and no. This is the most simple pendulum board you can make for yes and no answers. I chose this design because my original board is only 4 inches wide. However, you can expand your board design and add additional fields. You can add an area for unsure, maybe, or rephrase. You can also add letters and numbers around the border so that answers can be spelled out. You can add zodiac signs and moon phases or the months of the year. You can make your pendulum board as simple or complex as you want it to be. The next step is to paint your design. I decided to use green and aqua paint to create a feeling of seaweed and underwater bubbles. The next step is to pick out some small shells to decorate the board with. I looked through my jar of shells and chose 3 small shells to go in the center, 2 little scallops, and a spiral cone. Then I added some small pearl beads and some clear faceted glass beads, along with some tiny white shell beads to the board with hot glue. I'm also gluing on a few faux pearl cabochons around the edge. Next, I adhere the 3 small shells in the center and add a few more faux pearl cabochons on top of them. The final step before we move on to the second magical craft, which is making the pendulum itself, is retracing the yes and no responses in white gel pen. I decided to make the letters pop off the background a bit more by painting some blue shadows around them as well. After drying the paint with a mini heat gun, here is the final pendulum board. And now on to making a shell pendulum. I started with a long spiral auger shell and drilled a hole in the top with a very small 1/16 inch drill bit. And I'm putting it on a 2mm silver jump ring. Next, I created the handle of the pendulum on a head pin, filing on a seafoam blue faceted glass bead, a pearl, and a smaller blue glass bead, finishing off with a metal loop. The next step is to add a chain. I like to make my pendulums 10 inches long, so I put my shell point and my pearl handle at the 1 and 10 inch marks. Then I measure enough jewelry chain to fit in between. It's about a 7-inch piece. And the final step is to connect the chain to the shell point and the pearl handle. And here is the final pendulum and pendulum board. I hope this video has inspired you to try your hand at making a pendulum and pendulum board of your own. And if you enjoy my crafting and tutorial content, kindly leave me a like on this video.